Okay, so I got to start over again, clearly. So, what's up, guys? I forgot, I forgot to turn on my mic, so I've been sitting here talking to you guys for, this whole time with the mic not on. So, my name's Anon. This is not not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, and you should do your own due diligence. Yeah, my throat is a little bit maxed out, so I'm gonna try to. All right, let me go back. So, what's up, world? Izzy, Quack, Keith, Felix. It's go time. Aloha. Yeah, I didn't catch that I was muted, so sorry about that. But yeah, I was gonna say my cough. I'm trying not to cough too much. I did try something new. Um, we'll see if it works. I was drinking tea. All right, so let's make some money. I bought crayons instead of popcorn. Yeah, we own the float. That's right, Andy. Like and subscribe. No audio. Yeah, there there wasn't an audio because I was dumb and left my mic off. I'm here. I'm here, guys. Yeah, so it's ATER time. No audio, by the way. Yeah, so we should. I literally was talking to myself, Hayden. You're right. I completely was like jabbering on, and nobody, and you guys can't see me, so I'm sitting here just, talking to myself, basically. All right. Yeah, it's been a long day. My throat is maxed out. I am trying, to. I wanted to get that DD out, and I want to see if we can, get people to read it, because I think tomorrow is interesting, because looking at the options chains today, and I don't know if I hope I saved it. Let's see if I saved it. Let me see. All right. I need to zoom in. It's probably a little too much, but here. Guess how do I view? Alright, so I guess maybe we can view it like this. Can you guys see this? I think there's a lag on the stream, so. Yeah, I've not gone to the doctor yet, but I will try to get there next week. I don't think they're open on the weekends, so. But here we go. I just want to show you guys this. So currently we're sitting right here. We finished at 5:05. Obviously, the after hours, we kind of slumped down into this area right here. This is where they want us. This is where they want to finish it. Like 440s, 430s. This is their goal. And what's interesting is this. So we finished right here, right? Well, guess what's up here? Not a whole lot on the put side, but what's up here? A ton of stuff. So what that means to me is they didn't hedge. And they're going to go into tomorrow absolutely just pushing the price down because they didn't hedge. And because they didn't hedge, that's dangerous. And that's fire. And if enough people realize what they just did and they expose themselves, that would be interesting to see what happens. Because if all of a sudden people said, all right, if you're going to put this stock price right here, then we're buying everything down here. And they're not going to be able to push it down that far. So what would happen then is they would be basically just getting stacked for, down here in this area, because these will get cheaper tomorrow, with the theta. But if people said, all right, we'll make you buy these shares for us at $3 or $3.50, that may actually make them hedge, which will push up the price. And if they don't finish under this, then they have to hedge all these. And then if they didn't hedge any of these, and more people keep buying in down here, then what ends up happening is they actually they'll have to buy those shares because they know they're going to end up having to actually deliver them. So what ends up happening is these ones will be in the money, these ones will start getting into the money, and it just starts sliding up. Well, because they didn't hedge and they didn't de-hedge these, now they have a huge thing where they would be flying up. And like honestly, it doesn't really stop until like $7 to $8. So I mean, that can be super dangerous for a market maker to go kind of like naked one side and just they're going to use the short exempts. They're going to use everything in their power because they need the stock price down here to make their money. And if a ton of people came in and just scooped up the 0 day to expiries and said, I'll make them deliver it to me, that would be super interesting. And obviously that's not financial advice. I'm just showing you the mechanics of this. Is I don't think they can burn these. And so if they were bought down here and people said, all right, I'll just pay an extra premium to go into tomorrow. Or if they said, F it, I'm going to sell a put, which is bullish at, $3.50 or $4, then, they have to. What would be interesting if people said, all right, well, if this is max pain really is 5, but I'm going to sell a 450 put, I don't really care. But if they push it below 450, what ends up happening is they have to start hedging those, because if a bunch of people sold if they sold puts at 450, collected their, they're $4 or $5 or whatever per contract, but if they pushed it down below that, then what ends up happening is they have to start hedging shares for that because they have to deliver those shares the next week. So there's a whole bunch of things that get interesting with that. All right, wait, DD means due diligence. Yeah, call for us for good luck. There you go. You guys happy now? Get me all coughing. What's up, Jamie? Great, deep DD. Thanks. And on how many gators does it take to get to the center of a hedge fund manager? I know. Even Marines talk to themselves. Yeah, it's true. I fall asleep every night listening to you in my headphones. I hope that's as awkward for you as it is for me. It's definitely awkward for my wife. Thanks, Greg. Anon, thank you for everything you're doing. I'm not sure if you know this, but one of the reasons GME was so successful was because the apes had a leader. You're doing God's work. Well, thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. I don't think I'm a leader. I'm just a guy that's writing some DD and talking about stocks. I mean, that's all I'm doing. Bingo Vi, Ra, and I work on Marine Corps. It's Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego. And this is the distress I look forward to every night. Good stuff, man. ATER's the way. Yeah, I was going to say, I never actually have been on that base. I used to drive by it all the time because I was stationed at Pendleton. But I never actually, because I was an East Coast Marine, so I never actually got to see that base. I heard about it, though. I always heard that, like, the recruits would try to sneak out and run to the airport, but I think that it was like I had a friend that was stationed in Old Town, I guess, also, or something. Maybe they were on that base. I don't know. They lived in Old Town, but yeah. I did try honey in hot liquid. I did do that earlier. I'd had some tea with honey in it, so hopefully my voice sounds a little better, but I got you in my ear. Good stuff. Yeah. Appreciate it, Jake. I was going to say. And on too much D, you're getting through it. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously I'm tired, and so my kid was, I guess, sick with like common cold or something. So I may have gotten a bit of that, but I'm still like kind of powering through. I'm still going to work every day. I'm still, but I'm definitely not 100% right now. So we'll see. Anon has the best double D's in the biz. I don't know about that. I find some other people's pretty funny and pretty amusing to read. I need, like, if I was going to do it right, I have to redo the ultimate Aterian DD, which basically is mainly the balance sheets and all the stuff. I haven't done that in a while. I updated it from the last quarter's earnings, but I really need the new numbers. So once we get those earnings numbers on May 9th, I'll be able to update the ultimate, Aterian. I'll just make a new one. I'll just, same format though, and it'll be an actual DD that you would get from like, you know, a real fund. Like when you like put out due diligence for a fund, you would, from what I understand at least, because I did talk to one of my buddies, and he was like, yeah, like this is how, if you look at like I think it's called Oppenheimer or one of those like ones, they do the same sort of thing, just less memes and all numbers and all seriousness. But I think the memes and the gifts and the whatever all kind of help break it up. So, they're saying I only drink scotch. That's not true. I drink beer too. I like beers. Let's see. If they didn't hedge, we need explosive volume. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so I tried releasing it early. That way it wasn't just like, at least people can read it tonight and they can pass it around if they want to. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know any other way at this point to, it needs new buyers, and it needs a whale or two to realize what happened is, here's the truth. Like, if any sort of real pressure was applied to this options chains, like if an institution just sits on the, like slaps the ask, this stock's going to fly. I mean, it would probably go to like 7, 8, to be honest with you. They've got no resistance at this point, and they're out of bullets. Like, this is what they're banking on. They're just banking on using short exempts and buying deep in the money puts to just slide it down. I mean, look what they did. They bought a shit ton of these, and they bought a good amount of these, and they're just trying to push it down, And at this point, they're not hedging these. So what's going on now is anything that's down here is actually what counts, and that's not a whole lot. So they're banking on not using any of this or this. And because, retail's retail, they keep buying up here instead of actually what's, realistic, which is down here. But, where can I read his DD? I'm new to the channel. T, you can actually go, I guess on Reddit, or if somebody can link the Discord, it's probably in the Discord somewhere. Let me see if I can do that for you. And I'm always a little bit behind on the stream because obviously, like, I'm just slow. But let's find out where I'm at. Right there. Okay. So what's up, Goat? That IPO from yesterday went all the way back down to the 4s and lost. IPO from yesterday went all the way back down to 4s today. OST. Yeah, you have to DM me that in the Discord at some point, Keith. I was going to say, I'll take a look at it with you. But I wasn't following that one today. I was actually busy at work, so... Yeah, it's kind of, work's definitely getting in the way of me trying to do all this stuff. So, I was going to say... Hopefully someday I'll be able to do this full time, but at this point I'll continue trying to do this at night, and hopefully this this kind of play just explodes and everyone makes a lot of money, and that's what would make me happy. All right. All right, so there are 8,500. Oh, I should probably bring that back up. Sorry. We were still looking at this, I guess. And all right. So there are 8K 550 calls. Yeah, like they should have been, technically today, they should have been hedging this stuff right here because we were sitting right around here and they weren't hedging any of this. So they've got like was that 1.6 million roughly? Like I mean some of them could have been bearish calls, but like even just like 1.4 million shares they should have been hedging to the upside and they didn't do it. Like that's crazy. Like they didn't hedge any of this stuff. I mean, we were sitting above 5. They added another 300,000 shares and they didn't hedge it. They definitely hedged this stuff. They didn't hedge any of this stuff, and that's the stuff that could really hurt them. But yeah, yeah. I love zero. I mean, yeah. I don't want people going nuts. I'm just saying, once again, this is not financial advice, and this is like risky. I'm just saying, like, if you had enough money for the shares, if you can't route through IEX or some sort of broker, if you were to stack some calls and had enough money to actually exercise them at the end of the day or hold them into expiry, if your broker allows that, they would be required then to either start hedging those or they're going to run into a huge problem next week when they have to deliver and they can't deliver. So, yeah. I was going to buy some shares tomorrow anyways. Yeah, I mean, if you can route through IEX, that's, obviously preferred. Selling puts looks like best bang for your buck. Yeah, it could be. Like selling a $4 or a $4.50 put. I mean, there's they could drop it down, 20, 30 cents. That's possible, but then they would have to give you shares. So like these would be selling $4.50 puts would be very interesting to me. Just because if they decide to go that route, then they're going to end up paying for it the next week. So, waiting to the end of the day to make them hedge. Yeah, I mean, you can. This market maker, it looks like they didn't hedge today because they should have been hedging these 550 calls, especially when we were hanging out at 530s or whatever it was. There was just no upward movement, even though there was like let's say 1.4 or 1.3 million shares that should have been getting hedged. I mean, we'll see. Does exchange reported data twice a month include synthetics? No, it does not. That's why all this stuff gets to be a huge mess, because they are hiding short interest in the options chains now. They're doing all sorts of things. They are creating synthetic longs in the options chains to try to hide all the stuff that they're doing, and it's starting to what eventually will probably happen is this: they're going to hide a bunch of shares in the options chains farther down the line, and then they're going to probably have to let them it will look like a squeeze is happening. They'll choose a target, like they might say, okay, well, let's let it run to $15, and then they'll push it up, and then they'll convince everyone that was it, and then they'll send the stock down, and then later on they'll unpackage all those shorts and just deal once they move the stock back down. It's happened with GameStop. It's happened with AMC. This whole thing is just a mess, and that's what the market is. Can you tell us war stories like Jack Carr or Jocko? You guys don't want to hear that stuff. But I did do 2 tours in Iraq and the Al Anbar Providence. I was stationed on, I was stationed a bunch of places there, but my main base was TQ, and then I also was on, Fallujah, Ramadi. I visited Mosul a couple times. But yeah, let's see. I want to thank all the servicemen and women for your service. It saddens me the regulars allowed this to happen to you after all you sacrificed. I mean, everyone. It's the fact that this stuff just gets. And I get it. Like, they have so much money and so much power that they just get to basically they neuter anything that could take this whole system down, and it's a shame. Like, because people, even if you do everything right, like you did all your math right, they just cheat. And then, like look at GameStop. GameStop, they lost. And then you know what they did? They called the timeout, and then they popped the ball and said the game was over because they were losing. That's what happened. Like, GameStop basically forced them to cheat, and they did in front of the world. I've never seen a normal stock get like basically neutered like that. Like, I've been trading for a long time. I've never seen that happen before. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, and same sort of thing. Like, they're gonna pull all sorts of crap with this stock. But here's the thing: if you're buying long, and let's forget the options exchange for a second. But if you're just buying long, this float is so small that these FTDs are just gonna balloon, and at some point they're just gonna have to let it go because they can't do anything else. So, I mean, this is an important day because, I mean, the MACD on the daily is just starting to cross over. So if we don't push back up, then obviously we could experience a small downswing and then back up. But, I mean, they're kicking this can down the road, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to see if people will, if retail will shake out. So, Bingo says you didn't miss much. Just a bunch of drill instructors and recruits. Yeah. The FTD report should come out, I think, on like the end of the month. So like maybe what's this month, like the 30th or something like that. Can you look at next week's options chains? Yeah. So next week's is on the same one as this. It's down here. I didn't mark this one up, but I mean, there's a good amount of open interest that's in the money right now, and there's a whole bunch of open interest all the way up. Like, could it happen next week? Yeah, of course it can. Like, that's why it doesn't. Like, that's why I said in my DD, like, they're gonna roll over all the stuff that doesn't hit. They'll have an Ivy spike, and they'll just roll it over into this week, and then next week's the week, and then the next week's the week, until you get to basically, what's it called? Till you get to the 20th, which will be interesting, and there's an earnings report in there, and so. If you're ever in Washington, I'll take you on a brewery crawl. All right, D, I'm down. I do like my beer. What's stopping the institutions from buying now? Nothing. Like, institutions can buy right now if they want to. They might be buying. You never know. Like, some of these days might have actually been institutions buying. So, but we don't see the 13Fs until that. So, bro, you're becoming a fast legend. If this thing pops, you might get on HBO. Just saying. Nah, I don't think that's happening. Nah, my cough's back, damn it. Alright, I'm going to get some scotch, because that's the only thing I have down here besides water. Alright. Don't mind me, I'm just pouring some scotch in my teacup. Tea mug. Alright. A little scotch to coat my throat. There we go. But yeah, Chris, I appreciate it, but yeah, I don't think I'm doing anything special. All right, let's see. Get a link for the Discord. I got the link for the Discord. We'll look at it. Yeah, the DD should be in there somewhere, or just ask somebody to link it. I think there's actually a section now that they created for when myself and DZ Moneyman write DD, and for anyone else too, I guess. I mean, I'm happy to. Anyone that's writing DD, I'm happy to share that with. I think it should be actually open to everyone that wants to post DD in there. All right. What is your thoughts on institutions or whoever keeps coming in the last couple of minutes and stacking the bids? Yeah, I mean, I think there's someone in here long that's just keeping this on the rails. Like, they don't need to spend extra money. Like, here's the thing. Like, retail's fighting this whole time. Like, they're buying. These whales are just stepping in at certain points to just keep it on track. All they need to do is just guide the rails. Like, they don't need to spend extra money. They're going to buy it when it's down. They're not going to buy it when it's up. They're not trying to push it to all-time highs. What they're doing, retail's the ones, when everything's going green, they're buying when the RSI is way up here. Like, these guys are stepping in when it's down here, just making sure we don't go off the rails and go down into a downtrend. Like, we're still technically in an uptrend right now. Like, they tried today to get it back into, like, a downtrend, but, like, we're still technically, I mean, I'd have to eye it, but, like, it looks like we're still in an uptrend. So, where can we find a whale? I have an idea. Everyone gets one friend to buy. Yeah, I mean, if this spreads around, it'd be interesting. So, how would you assign the probability of this squeezing? I mean, like, it's just a matter of time at this point. That's my honest opinion. Is like, I don't think it's so much a if, but a when. For hen, I mean, so like, they've sold too many shares. That's the like truth. Like they look at this volume. Like they only have 26 million shares, but yet we traded 1.12 billion shares in the last since this date, and there's no volume these days. So really, it's just since this date. So just since this date, we've probably traded like something like stupid, like 900 million shares of volume on a stock that has 26 million float. Like that, just the numbers don't make sense. Like, so they've sold, they've kicked some FTDs, they're just rolling this stuff into the options chains. They're trying to do anything they can to keep this stuff from like hitting. So, I mean, it's, to me, it's just a matter of time now. And at some point, there's just going to be the entire options chain is going to have like the free float. Or if not even just the free float, it will be the entire shares outstanding, like they did on Spurt. So, how will the earnings call go on 5/9? Dana. So Dana, in my opinion, I don't think earnings really matter so much because I don't think, like, at least for the people who have been here a long time, we bought into this company because we thought it was fundamentally undervalued. And I think at this point, book value on it's like $4.23. We're $1 off that. Most stocks trade above their book value. To me, earnings, they beat on like 2 of the last 3 earnings, and yet they got shorted down. Like, so what I anticipate is this. I anticipate on May 9th, which is right here, I anticipate wherever we are on this, if it's up here, if it's down here, it doesn't really matter. They're going to nail the stock down no matter what happens. It could be the best earnings report ever. It's going to get attacked because they need to get people out of the stock. They've needed to do it for a long time. And I think I showed, a lot of people last night what I thought about the, the OPV and the money flow, and I compared it, to Amazon and other things where you can actually see the money flowing in, money flowing out. On ours, it doesn't happen. It just stays in, and it's the same way with GameStop, and similar to AMC, but AMC, the only two that match as closely are GameStop and this stock, Aterian. And because it's a low float, like AMC's got a huge float, but GameStop had a small float and this had a small float, and that's what ended up making these so explosive because there's dry powder that's just sitting there, gunpowder that's just sitting there, and every single time they push the stock down, it makes retail be able to afford more shares to hold long. It's just, if an institution started actually buying in here like a large amount that hits the lit exchange, then these guys are over. Like if the earnings report's decent and institutions start buying back in, they're in trouble. Like this stock's literally going to fly. So that I'd link to the DD. Everyone's watching. Don't forget to slap the like button. One of the comments in the DD mentioned the market makers didn't hedge because they can't. We've locked up the float. There are not enough shares available. I don't know how valid this is. I'm a simpleton. No, I mean, so they can always, quote unquote, give themselves a backstop. I personally think they just don't think that, retail is going to be able to, they looked at us and they said, we're just going to push this down and we don't really care what's there because we don't think they can fight it. There's not enough volume right now. Like, we didn't have that much volume the last 2 days, and they're basically looking at all right, so if we count back, this is Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, so this right here, this day right here, look, Friday was the lowest volume day we've had in a long time. And what's going to happen tomorrow? If we have another really low volume day, they're just going to push the stock right where they want it, which is 440 to 430s. Like that's what their intention is. So they just said, why are we even going to bother hedging all this stuff? Making ourselves, have a headache. We're just going to push it down because the volume's dying off. But what if it didn't? What if the volume picked up? What if there was people that saw this and said, oh my God, these guys didn't hedge, and there's a like 0 day, like to expiry like option that I can buy that would literally send the stock up. Yeah, that'd be interesting. And then say, for example, these people say, all right, if they're not going to move the price up, then I'm just going to take these shares and I'll just hold them to next week and make them deliver them to me by Tuesday of next week when there's probably not that many shares available. I mean, I've been seeing reports that apparently Charles Schwab was having trouble just locating real shares, and at this point they were telling their clients that they were not able to deliver some, like even something small like 240 shares. They couldn't locate them. Like, that's happening now. And like these, what I've learned, I talked to a guy today, and I won't give any details, but basically I spoke to a gentleman today who worked in the industry, and he was saying that these broker dealers, the SROs, yeah, like they're in this deep. Like that's what it appears, at least. If you think about, like, your brokers are not really on your side. Your brokers want you to sell because at this point they're sitting there with FTDs and they don't know what to do with it. This is what happened to GameStop with Robinhood. There were so many people buying GameStop on Robinhood at the time that Robinhood couldn't afford, because there was just no way they could actually pay for all those like shares. They didn't exist. They would have to go to the market and find them, and that's why they shut off the buy side. So, it is what it is. But yeah, as far as earnings go, I'll be honest with you, I don't think earnings has any, earnings, I will buy the stock regardless, because at this point I still think it's fundamentally undervalued. So, I anticipate them to hit the stock down, and we will go from there, and I'll keep buying and I'll keep writing DD, and eventually people will see what's going on here because it's corruption. All right. Don't forget to slap the ask. Don't forget to slap the like button too. Yeah. Let's see. Fidelity does not allow any 0 day to expiries, so there's no option to change this. Yeah, I was going to say, Earthium, if your broker doesn't do that, obviously you can still buy shares if you can route through IDX. If not, then you could always buy next week's deep in the money ones, and that'd be fine too. But obviously not financial advice. You do whatever you want with your money. Is it possible that the hedge funds are waiting for tomorrow? Yeah. Thanks, Chapster. Thanks for my service, Anna. Thanks. Appreciate you thanking me. Last time I talked to them, they said risk management team wasn't allowing it, but I would review and may change it later. Yeah, I mean, like, so most of your brokers aren't going to let you borrow, in short, Aterian, because it's too risky, and you don't have the capital to actually back it up. So they're not going to lend you shares. Let's see. That's what people said about AMC and GME, and the FTD still haven't come. It's a little bit different, Grundy, because this is still pretty fresh. The FTDs for those two, the problem is this, and this is something I've told people before, is AMC and GME both moved up, and they moved up because they couldn't have kept them down at those levels, because it was just too dangerous. You had to put it somewhere in between where people can afford it, and if you make it too cheap like Aterian is right now, people can stack and buy and hold these shares, and then it takes power away from them because all your shares of the float are actually locked up with these apes who are like just holding on to these shares, and they won't let go of them, and they'll shake the tree. I mean, they shook the tree down to 210, which is below current asset values, and people still held, which I'm sure was infuriating to them. And then, like, you find out that we were on 100% utilization at the point, so we bought up the float at, probably back in, like, February, March. So, but yeah, when the price is low like this, retail gains a whole lot of power because, I mean, each week this gets bigger. Like, Aterian 4 weeks ago had like 9,000 people in the sub, and it was really slow and nothing was going on. in the last 3 weeks, there's been a growth of like 5,000 members in the sub itself. People are starting to hear about this all over Reddit. They're annoyed by it, but they keep hearing about it, and so they start asking questions like, "What's going on with this thing?" And they're seeing this bullish chart coming about, and they're going, they're a couple days away from actually pulling the golden cross, and like, yeah, like people are going to start paying attention to this later. Like, there are people who are the early adopters. There's the people that stayed with it forever, and they were basically stuck, and now they're back in it. And then there's people who are just coming in now, and they're going, well, what's this all about? So my goal is to try to not be that same sell this for 20% gain. Like, if you want to do that, that's fine. But like, I have a different thesis. My thesis is that this stock sold way too many shares that they didn't have, and now they are in this limbo of like kicking the can down the road. And it's a very similar spot that they had with GameStop, which is they have high short interest. Because remember, the short interest back then with GameStop has changed. So if you did like the old standards, Aterian's probably like short interest would be something like, I don't know, like 80%. So they've changed how they measure short interest on Ortex, at least, and a couple other like standards. So I'm just saying this is a little more, like people are like, oh, it's only 40%. Well, technically, if we did how they measured it before, it would be higher. So, but yeah, with GME and AMC, this is a very different thing because the share price is so low at this point. This is like AMC back when it was $5, and then before they sold too many shares before they started diluting. So the dilution slowed things down with those stocks, both of them. And at this point, they haven't done that with Aterian. So the dilution of the warrants comes at September, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think they can keep this up until September 6th, which is when the warrants come due. So right here, they would have to get all through here with 2 earnings going through there to get to those warrants. I don't think it's going to happen. Will there be a point where shorts just get bored and dip out? Yeah, I mean, at some point, it just becomes not profitable for them. Like, they were in the profit for a long time. At some point, this gets dangerous for them, and they just say, you know what, F it. Like, we'll just go long, ride it up, and go down. So, if this pops to GME levels, and I'm just going to get a Netflix series made about ATER. I don't know about that. My buddy wants to do a documentary, and he did a great job with another one, but he wants me to show my face, and that's kind of not what I'm looking for. None of this was supposed to be for either money or fame. It was just supposed to be like me talking about stocks with other people, and it kind of got out of hand now. And now the Discord, I when I started the Discord, we literally had 20 people just talking about Aterian. And now, what do we have? I think 3,200 people in there. Like, all of a sudden. Yeah, I did talk about Redbox. I know this is mainly Aterian, but I just want to throw it out there for you guys. I did take a look at Redbox really quickly for some of you because you guys had asked about it. It does look like they have some dilution, which could be dangerous. And it could be because they're trying to get to a certain warrant level, but I will just take 2 seconds to just show you, or at least tell you about it. Excuse me. Yeah, so they've got 16.84 million warrants at this point, and right now they only have about 3 months of cash left over. So you have these warrants right here. So they've got, was it 6 million warrants to purchase? And their exercise price is at 11. So they're going to try to run this up there. But I believe they have an ATM going, if I remember correctly, or something like that. So they've got to figure out a way to fund. Oh, you know what it is? Okay. So they have an April. Okay, I know what's going on here, I think. So they have an April HPS lender warrant. And it's only exercisable if debt conditions are not met. And they don't have an exercise price on them. And in fact, they are just getting registered last week. So they haven't been registered yet, but they will be registered. So they are trying to basically fundraise, and basically they will dilute onto people that are buying into this. It's a way that these guys can raise some cash. And it's similar to what they did to Prague. So they issued like an ATM into them, so they would basically get retail to pay for these, like raising cash. So, yeah, I mean, it will probably move up for a little bit, and then what will end up happening is these April warrants that are not registered yet, they'll all of a sudden just pop out of nowhere, and then they'll start diluting. So, there you go. Yeah, but if you want to look them up, I think if you look up the filings, it looks like there was an April 22 HPS. I think the HPS lender is the warrant holder. And they're going to be issued probably on the 16th of... So if you look back, whatever got registered on the 16th for Redbox, that's going to be the dilution that's going to come out. And they're going to surprise the hell out of a bunch of people that don't understand that. Belvedere Financial has 25,000 calls outstanding, hedging with even more puts. If you're them, how do you utilize that to minimize losses if the squeeze begins? Do you close the shorts and ride? Yeah, I mean, that's what they would do. They would basically switch sides, minimize the losses. They know where they can put the stock. So, I mean, they would basically buy a bunch of out of the money, and they would do that. So... Cabby, if you can figure out how to make a TikTok video, I have no idea how to do it. So I don't even have TikTok on my phone. So my wife does, and she watches it, and she says that there's lots of fun things on there. But my daughter apparently wants to watch TikTok, but we don't let her because she's too young. Too many beers tonight, crawling back in my hole. What's up, goat? All right. Just found out today my Webull settings were set to share lending program. Do you think they were borrowing shares? Yeah. If you don't turn off your share lending, and probably should put that in my DD. That's a good point. I should really just update it right now while I'm thinking about it. All right. You guys are going to hold on for a second while I put this in the DD. All right. We'll go here, edit post, and I guess maybe put it in... What section should I put it in? Maybe at the end? Do people even read to the end? I don't know. I'm going to put it like a PS at the very end. Educational purposes only. Have you disabled your share lending at your broker? People with Webull by default to their shares lent out. You should call your broker and find out if they are lending your shares out. It's good to just know that information in general. There you go. All right, so back to the stream. Okay, good job, Goat. We just added it to the DD. Yeah, so I'm not going to go through other people's tickers right now. I did Redbox for you guys, but if you want to get with me, Reza, you can DM me on the Discord tomorrow, and I can look at something for you. But at this point right now, I'm just going to stick with this because it's midnight now, and I'm going to have to go to sleep soon. So I just found about turning it off. Yeah, so tactics they use drive down the pressure. So many stocks. You mentioned hedge fund brokers all deepen it together. They can't shake retail like they used to. Yeah, it's true. As someone who held up from 8 to 17 down to 2 and having to average down is the most frustrated I've ever been. Allowed me to research and really understand how jacked up the market is. It totally is. It totally is. Bingo. Stop asking for SNDL. This is Aterian. All right, there's 127 people as I'm writing this. Everyone needs to get on social media and bring attention to get the numbers moving again. We need volume. There you go, Kenny. There you go. That's what we're doing. I'm out here midnight talking about the Aterian, and I'll keep talking about it until we get things moving. All right. I was not in GME at all, but not. I was not in GME at all, and I was not very involved in AMC. But I'm being involved in ATER has made me learn so much about how the market works and how everything's stacked against retail. Yeah, and that's how the markets work right now. But retail has learned a lot of tricks, and at this point right now, the more education that retail gets, the better they start trading. And at some point these odds starts getting swayed, because if retail understands, okay, there's no possible way that they have all these shares, it doesn't matter what the price is. You stop looking at the price. It's going to go up at some point. So if they drive it down, then buy more shares, because at some point it's going back up. So let's see. Something about, we don't have Twitter, but if someone tweets David Pinoy from Barstool Sports, no, that guy paper-handed. He was furious over the. No, I was gonna say, I'll be honest with you guys. He now works with like an ETF that's called FOMO, I think, and he's on the smart money side now. So I think he didn't like what was going on, so a bunch of people educated him, and now he's on the smart money side. So I don't think he's. I mean, he went on Charles, what was his name? Charles Payne's show, and got like embarrassed, and I think he's out now. He just doesn't want anything to do with apes or, that sort of stuff. I think he called him a little bitch, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So, was GME backed by? Yeah, GME actually had 120% institutional ownership. That was the other thing. So like, they had very, very small amounts of what they could actually like sell to retail, and retail just piled in. We're more like AMC with like, we have high retail ownership and low institutional ownership, but that also means that institutions can't lend out as many shares because they only have 14 million shares to lend out, and once they sell, which I think somebody sold the last 3 days, they don't have anything to do then after that. So did SST also heavily dilute? Their price went down by a third. And yeah, so that was the problem with SST. And I told everyone this in my, if you ever look back and go back to the interactions I had with people talking about SST, I said this is a high risk, high reward play. Like, yeah, your numbers are insane. You have like 800% cost to borrow, but at the same time, at any day your stock can get diluted with an early S1 filing. And they were like, no, it can't happen. And then it happened. And I'm like, that's what I told you guys could happen. And that's why Aterian was a safer bet. At the time we were like $2-3 a share. And I told people, I'm like, all you have to do is just like risk reward, which is better. Like, yeah, they had a window and it didn't work because it was always going to be like, it took on average like 11 days for the S1s to get through, the more recent ones. They were banking on it going over a month, and there was just no way that was going to happen. But I tried to tell people, and I hope people got it in and out like I did, and I hope that people didn't get burned by that. But I did try to tell people, I believe we will end this below $5 due to max pain. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. That's what they're going for. I mean, I showed you on the, I don't know if you missed that section, but I show people on the weekly, like, this is where they're going to aim for. This is where market makers want it to end. They want it right below 450. That's their goal, right here. 436, 440, 449 would be fine with them. They want it right here because then they can burn all this premiums. All that premium right down there. All of it. Just all burned. That's what they want. All of this burned. That's where they want the stock tomorrow. And that's what they're going to go for. And, if retail was, stack things down here, or not even retail, just like institutions were buying. If there's buy pressure tomorrow, this stock could fly because, they didn't hedge this stuff. Like, you could tell, like, they didn't hedge this stuff. Like, they should have been hedging this when it was like 530, and they didn't choose to start buying shares. They actually just pushed it back down and then, went for getting it below $5 at the end of the day. So, but we didn't. We finished 505, which means that going into tomorrow, technically they should have been hedging these fives already, and I don't think they did. So, like, they're supposed to be hedging these fives, these 550s. If that's why I said it could explode, but it just needs people understanding what's going on here. Let's see. It's bad. I've been through this so long. What can we expect? Everyone to have the share. Yeah, I mean, the fact that we don't have, for example, like, people understanding that they're not disabling their share lending, that's a little troublesome, but yeah, it is what it is. People need to understand it. They need to understand, and that's the problem with like retail. Nobody teaches them this stuff. I mean, how they gonna lend out shares they don't even have anyways? I mean, it's easy. They just kick it down the road with the T plus system. So, what would make them start hedging the $5? If there was enough, like, deep in the money stuff that they thought that people would actually execute. Like, if all these down here started getting stacked up, like if all of a sudden we saw thousands of volume here, they would have to consider, are these guys going to actually execute these calls? If they do, then they technically need to actually, like, hedge these, which would send the stock price up, which means then they have to hedge these. And then as the stock price goes up, then they have to hedge these. And there's, a ton here. And that's how a gamma ramp starts. But it starts at the base, and if you don't have the base going, and that's what happened last week, everybody was shooting for up here, and nobody was filling in the base. And if you don't have a base, you don't get to go anywhere. Like, the base is important, and if people are not willing to support that base, then it's not going to go anywhere. That's just how it works. And what they'll do is they'll run up an IV spike, and then they'll roll all these things into this week. And there's tons of open interest already here. Like, all this stuff's going to be in the money next week too. They're not hedging those either. Like, there's a good amount of open interest right here, and they should be technically hedging some of this for next week, but they're not doing it because they're only going for burning these, calls right here. They want to burn all this stuff, including these ones that are technically in the money right now, and they want to end it right here for the day. And they'll try to push down past 4 at one point, but it is what it is. Like, that's their game plan. that's what the market maker is going to go for. And so it all depends if retail or institutions and long bulls are going to fight back and actually because this thing could pivot and pop on a dime, and this thing could fly. I mean, we're talking about like it would fly back and retest the 7 tomorrow. But it all depends. Most retailers are still somehow not getting their shares onto the lit exchange. Like, if you can't route through a lit exchange, maybe you should be with a broker that allows you to. Like, I'm just throwing it out there. Like, the fact that your shares never hit the lit exchange and then they just end up in this T plus and they kick the can down the road. Like, that's how we end up with this big mess. So, wouldn't Belvedere have to cover before May 20th? That's when their calls are. Yeah. I mean, that's if we're assuming that's where their calls are. We don't know where their calls are. And we don't get to see that. But yeah, it could be also, it might not be the shorts there. It might actually be a market maker hedging to make sure that they don't lose control. Like, they might have been the whale that bought up all those like $7.50 and $10 calls, or $12 calls, whatever it was. But like, somebody's doing that. I'm within 15 cents of breaking even on one of my Roth stocks. If it gets over, I'm selling and dumping into ATER. I refuse to lose money. I'm hard-headed. Grundy, thanks for the DD, bud. I'm holding long, not going anywhere. 6K shares and growing daily. I left a lot of money on the table with AMC. I'm not doing it again. There you go. 100%. He looks so dumb. Yeah, he did. Why do you think Aterian won't do an ATM as the share price rises? Are they allowed? Rug pulls and lower risk tolerance seem to be the norm today. So here's the thing, Dennis. I've actually spoken to investor relations before at times, and the one thing I've learned is these guys really don't like what these shorts have done to them, because obviously, like, they were a stock that was doing pretty well up until the shipping crisis happened, and then they pushed them down. Like, so these guys, most of their money is tied up in this stock. So like the CEO's entire net worth is basically tied up in the Aterian stock. And imagine your entire net worth is being shorted by people that you can't control what's going on there. You probably don't like them very much. So there's very much a like hate relationship, I think, with Aterian and shorts. Nobody, a lot of the companies, like executives, have their money tied up in shares of Aterian. They don't like it being down. And then they come into this section where this Aterian stock was finally going up, and they know that there were naked shorts there. They accused them publicly, and then since they accused them, the stock went down to like basically almost all-time lows. They got buried by shorts before even just speaking out. So like, this is a company that does not like shorts. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't either. So for them, they've got warrants sitting at 15 and 25. They already have dilution on the table. And they know, I think they're smart enough to know that retail is the one that owns the majority of their stock. If they burn retail, then retail's out. And retail won't come back. I mean, look at Robinhood. You burn retail once. Like, the dilution that happened back here was not Aterian management's fault. Like, they tripped the debt covenant, which is why they got shorted down here. They tripped the debt covenant, and then retail was squeezing out the shorts, but they were getting dilution no matter what because of the debt covenant breach. And so High Trail, the lender, doesn't hold on to shares, so they just unloaded those shares, and they went back on the market, and they were able to get out. But I'm telling you right now, I don't think Aterian has any, this is just what I gathered. They don't have any love for these shorts, and, I don't think that would be smart of them to try and go ahead and throw an ATM out when the stock price is too low. Like, doing it at $5 makes no sense to me. Like, doing it at $7 makes no sense to me when they have warrants at 15 and 25. So, that's just my honest opinion. I'm not a shill. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everyone here could be cool. Everyone could be a shill. I don't know. I'm just reading through the comments. All right, let's see. CRX did the same thing. It dropped 60% after the public offering. Yeah, I mean, that's what dilution does. It devalues your shares. That's why, like, dilution's not usually, a good thing unless it's raising a ton of cash, which Aterian could need some cash. And they will do it at ATM at some point. I just don't think they're going to do it down at these levels. It doesn't make sense when they got warrants at 15. Like, they'll raise some cash there, and then they got warrants at 25. And if this thing was flying, I think they would just at least let it go for a while. Something that we need to focus on buying lit and DRS. I mean, DRS is like, okay, if they push the stock down, that's retail's poison pill. So, all right, you want to push the stock down? We're not going to go anywhere for a while. If retail who owns the float already, if retail just says, okay, that's fine, we'll just DRS all of our shares. Whew. They already have, I don't know how many FTDs are piled up. We'll find out the beginnings of them. Like, really, we're not going to know how many FTDs are getting bad until, like, May 15th. But I'm telling you right now, whew, it would get ugly. Let's see. Sorry. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up because it's past midnight here, and I've just been working my ass off all day. Like I woke up at 6:30 and I'm here past midnight. And I worked a full day, and then I came home, I ate dinner, and then I came back down and worked on DD, and now I'm talking to you guys. So, yeah. So, what could be an all-time high? I mean, I don't know. Like, all I'll tell you is this: I was in GameStop, and I bought it at like 17 to 20 something, and then I added on the way up, and then I thought I was going to sell at 80, and then in that day it flew from like like 50 to like $160 a share, and I did not sell at 80, and I said there's more here, and it ran all the way up to like $600. So like I was expecting 80 from GameStop, and it way exceeded my expectations. So I appreciate the factual data you give on the DD as well as the subreddit. I tried telling my cousin about this move. He dismissed it because the subreddit or DD can be biased. Oh well, I'm lowering my average. I can tell you this, Henry. Have him look up the facts himself. Tell him to fact check me. I mean, the information's all out there. Everything I'm using here is public knowledge. Yeah, the warrants I believe are at 25.10. Off the top of my head, I think they're at 25.10, and the ones at 15 are like 1560 maybe. I don't know, but yeah, that's probably why I'm sick. I need to relax. Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, yeah, I was gonna say hopefully what I'll do is I'll get some rest this weekend, and I'll try to get a doctor's appointment going into next week. And I'm not coughing as bad today. I mean, that's a good thing. But I've tried a couple new things and seeing if that helps. But at this point right now, I mean, I guess what everyone can do is tell your friends, your family, if they are interested, at least have them do their own research and see what they think. And then, we'll see if, by tomorrow morning, I mean, I look at it this way. You've invested in something. If you think it's a good play and you think it's interesting, if you tell your friends and you tell your, like your social media or whatever it happens to be, like I've posted it on my Facebook. I said, listen, this is something I'm looking at. I bought in, and a bunch of my friends, know me, and they were like, oh yeah, so I'll buy it. So they're like, when do we sell? Just tell me when to sell. I'm like, all right, well, you're gonna be holding for a while, so. But yeah, I mean, I've got a couple, thousand people I'm friends with on Facebook, and I posted it out there. So, I mean, that's just me. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing it because I think it really actually can make people a lot of money. And so, this was like 25 a share already, I wouldn't be tweeting that out. But down here at this level, I think it's undervalued. So, even if going long on it, I believe it's undervalued. So, that's that. So, if you guys want to make me a full-time streamer someday, make an honest man out of me, I'll link my Patreon. Or if tomorrow we mow ass for some reason, you wanna thank me, you can sign up for the Patreon. I just eventually want to be able to do this instead of having to work a side job, and that's the goal. Be able to stream, talk to you guys about stocks all day, and just not have to do what I'm doing right now, because it has nothing to do with stocks, I can tell you that. So that's it right there. And let's see. I need to link the Discord. That's the other thing I always do. So, hopefully you guys... This was a short one. Do you think this squeezes before AMC? Yes, absolutely. This will move before AMC moves. I think this moves before GME moves too. The writing's on the wall for May at this point right now. Like, it looks like May is going to be a very, very violent, tumultuous time for Aterian. And it's going to swing wildly up and down. But, like, I see this happening probably in the May-ish time frame. Could it go into June, bleed a little longer? But, yeah. But I think GME needs its stock split. And I think AMC's just not there yet. They just don't have the... It's such a high float. And until, like, they just keep kicking the can down the road. So, like, and those stocks are too expensive right now for retail to just stack. Aterian's at a perfect level where the stock's not too expensive. So retail can actually afford, like, good amounts of it at a time. And options are super cheap. Yeah, so it is what it is. All right. There's Discord. I'm going to bed. Get some sleep. See you guys tomorrow pre-market. Spread the word. And everyone have a great evening.